Something that promised a lot, but probably delivered a lot less, was Kerry's defeat to Dublin last Saturday night at Croke Park in front of, I suppose, nearly 40,000 people. A lot of them Kerry people as well. So what went wrong? Well, that's the question that a lot of people are asking. So we're going to ask Liam Brosnan first what went wrong the last night. It was certainly, Jack O'Connor says malfunction. That's like kind of an engine breaking down or something. But it did have that feel about it, didn't it?
It did. Look, it was a rough night at the office. Are Kerry that bad? No, we're not that bad. Are Dublin that good? Yes, I would. Dublin they're not All-Ireland champions for nothing. From the word go,
they weren't that good, Liam, heading into that game. I mean, we were talking about them losing a couple of games, and then all of a sudden they won a game.
But Dublin in Croke Park, and we've said it for years here, like they're a different animal. And look, Kerry and Dublin always bring the best out of each other anyway, and we said it here last Monday night. That it was a game we were looking forward to, because we thought we were showing a lot of promise, and and I always thought that it was a free hit, and I said it at half time to Timmy, that this is our chance now to have a shot at Dublin. If we lose, it wasn't going to be the end of the world, because we were well situated with league points. We have a couple of good games coming up ahead of us that you'll be hoping that you'll pick up more points. So this was a kind of a free hit for us at Dublin. But by God, after the first 10 minutes, they just left us for dead. All over the field, they dominated all over the field. We struggled on our kick out, we struggled on their kick out. They broke us down very easily. Powerful running. The one thing I could not understand is that when Dublin are bringing up the ball, they always seem to have 2 or 3 forwards inside the full forward line. When we came from the other end, we were just kind of kicking these hit and hope balls into David inside with 2 or 3 Dublin fellas around them. So there's going to be a lot of soul searching, a lot of thinking for Jack. Look, I know, and we're going to get a lot of texts in tonight, that it's only February and it's only this. We can only talk about what we saw the weekend. We can't talk about what's going to happen in July. But we will get better. We'll learn from it. But Dublin looked like and they looked like the real deal. They looked like the old Dublin. When I say the old Dublin with Jim Gavin, they're very constructive, very powerful, very fit, and they looked as if they wanted to put down a marker Saturday night, and they did, because they came at us from the word go, like Munchin on David Clifford, for instance. He struggled with David struggled with him, and size wise there's no comparison, and we still couldn't overcome that. A lot of things like that. And it just shows that Dublin are going nowhere. And there's a couple of fellas in the background. We were talking to fellas up in level 7, and they were saying the likes of Cluxton and McCarthy and all these fellas are supposed to be flying in training as well. And we're only a couple of months away from the All-Ireland series, so it's an interesting road ahead.
God almighty, interesting road ahead. It was an interesting road home for an awful lot of people, because obviously they're going to discuss nothing but the match. But I mean, like, John Kennedy, before we get on to kind of the good stuff, we'll go through the game and the good stuff. What went wrong, you looking at the game? I mean, we talked Kerry up last week. We said we were in a good place. We had a good team. We nearly said they were nearly our championship team. Yep. We said we were well set at midfield. We had reasonable enough hope in the back line. We had best forwards in Ireland at that stage. Something happened though. What happened? What's the mystery?
I think last week you asked us how do you think it would go. I felt Kerry would win. I thought, based on the fact that I thought that Dublin were a bit behind us preparation wise, fitness wise, quite a number of players to come back. We had a settled team, near enough a championship team. But we got it so wrong. I got it so wrong, I'll be honest with you. I think Dublin, they were beaten by Monaghan and Mayo, beat Roscommon, you'd expect it, but like we were on the upper curve, having beaten Monaghan and Mayo, and looking good. But from the word go, like Liam said, we were second best. We were bossed all over the field. Dublin looked fitter, sharper, they were hungrier, they used the ball well. They squeezed us. They on the kick-outs, they attacked everything, and we were flat-footed. And some of the old problems that were there for the last few years, particularly the spine of our defence, it was really opened up. To be fair, I thought the tactics that Dublin used on the night were very effective. Bugler taking Tyg Marley away from centre back, leaving Jason Foley totally exposed inside. Great ball going into Con Callan. Jason will have horrors about that game, being honest with you. The Kerry full back line were under savage pressure. Paddy Small had the Indian sign on Dylan Casey. every time he got it, he wanted to take him on. They went by their men easily. They got the goals. People will say today that Kerry had goal chances. Yes, we did. We didn't take them. But it is certainly a setback. While, I think we need to get to league final with the championship that's ahead of us. I can't see us getting there now, being honest with you. We have a tough one coming up next week again. But it's a marker by Dublin more than the victory. We're going to meet them later on, probably in the championship at some stage. And this is, the individual battles that were won. The energy they showed. And I think more importantly, the new guys that Dublin have brought in are up to the mark. I'm talking about Theo Clancy at full-back. I'm talking about Cian Murphy, Ross McGarry. Our guys, the new fellas, haven't reached that level. They probably will, but it's amazing that the Dubs have. And then, like Liam said, you look at the list of lads that had to come back. Signs are on us, in fairness. They're not All-Ireland champions for nothing. And, last year when we won the All-Ireland, we came back into the league and we were catching up. Dublin won the All-Ireland. Maybe they were catching up for the first game or two, but they certainly looked to be firing on all cylinders. Their fitness looked to be ahead of us. Their sharpness. It was a terrible night at the office for Kerry. Like Liam said, we're not that bad, but Dublin are that good.
We're not that bad, Liam. Some people are putting a question mark behind that this morning all over the kingdom. Are we that bad?
No, we're not that bad. Look, there was a couple of malfunctions. I think the main one for me was our kick-out. And it kind of... If you go back to the Mayo game the week before,
what goes wrong in that situation? That the kick out, obviously, it's the keeper's responsibility to get the ball into an area where there's possession. When you say malfunction, are we losing? Are we not getting to where we should be on the mark to pick up the ball? Are players not showing up? A lot of Kerry players, deep into the middle of the second half, they had their backs turned to the goalkeeper.
They didn't want the ball, no. And you could see Dublin put on a press for the people. We were up high, so we could see it easily. They put on a press, and it was a kind of a zonal press. And usually, in a lot of games, teams give up the handy kick out to the corner back or to the wing forward, stuff like. Dublin weren't doing that. They were actually forcing Shane Ryan to kick the ball out to Fintan. And it happened a couple of times. I know if you can remember, it was Darren Moynihan was contesting with Fintan a couple of times. No, that shouldn't be happening at this level. It shouldn't be happening. And it really did put us under pressure from the word go, and it put Dublin on the front foot. And I know people are saying that we had a great first 10 or 15 minutes of the second half, but actually Dublin never pressed us for the first 50. It was the 50th minute I wrote down here, and next thing they went on the press again and they pulled away from us. So that's something that we need to work out, and that's something that can be worked out on the training field to get the ball into play. And at the other end, in when the Dublin, it was very like Cluxton. The ball was hardly gone over the bar, and the goalkeeper had it on the tee, and it was a handy kick out. So their restarts were a lot easier. They were a lot quicker than what we were doing, and I thought that was a big thing for the game. That Dave O'Hanlon, very very settled, and it put us under pressure. Our kick out put us under pressure from the very word go. And then the other big thing for me was that the pace and the strength of the Dublin team. I thought Kieran Kilkenny, was excellent. Fintan bossed around the middle of the field without being dramatic. He bossed around the middle of the field.
But how much of that was Dublin bossing us, or that we were well below our par?
It could be a bit of both. But we got to look at the Dublin team as well, and we got to give them credit. A lot of these guys have pockets full of All-Ireland medals.
But where's the motivation then? I mean, did Dublin come out to last night as All-Ireland champions saying, we won the All-Ireland last year, and people were still doubting us? They were still saying David Clifford had an off day, and that's why we won the All-Ireland. And did they determine to roll up the sleeves and saying, listen, this is what we need to win. This is the most important game for us, probably in the whole calendar year, and we're going to put our foot down and Kerry.
Laying down a marker.
Like we would have done to maybe Cork in the 70s and the 80s, and said, we're not going to give them absolutely any hope whatsoever, and we're going to send the Kerry gang home with no hope whatsoever, and they're not going to have another uprising against us.
Exactly, yeah. And you could see that even going back to Munchin again on David Clifford, like the Dublin faith they have in their players. So that'd be something I probably wouldn't do as a manager, like to put your smallest defender on probably what everyone is saying one of the best forwards in the country, and they were able to, and a lot of that then comes back to Kerry as well, the way we were kicking the ball into David. Like I said, we kicked we're always on here about getting early ball into him, but there's early ball, but you can't kick a ball into him when there's 3 or 4 Dublin fellas around him. And that's Dublin were doing the opposite. When Conor Callaghan got the ball inside, he had 2 and 3 fellas running off him, so he had a choice of dipping the shoulder, taking his man on, or giving it to the fella off the shoulder. David didn't have that, so that's something that Kerry will have to rectify. Like the Dublin 6 forwards, I think, kicked 3-15 between them.
Well, sure, Conor Callaghan scored 3-4 on his own.
No, so like Kieran Kilkenny had 3, Burglar had 3, Paddy Small had 3, Scully had 1. The 6 forwards, they all scored. Usually you might get a half back coming up, or midfielders and all these, but there's 6 forwards. So the unit and the way they play, they're actually playing as forwards.
Dublin were very interesting in that instance, and maybe Liam tripped onto that point. Dublin kept their forwards as forwards and kept them up. We kind of maybe triangularised ourselves and put a forward in. Maybe Shawnee jumped out or David stayed in. Is there a proper reward, John, for keeping your 3 forwards in the scoring zone?
Well, particularly your scoring forwards anyway, there's no doubt. And I think Dublin have learned. Kieran Kilkenny, very seldom he was back in the backs the last night, or back beyond his own 45. Played above Con Callaghan, and Bugler. Those 3, they're huge players for Dublin. Paddy Small kicked in as well. But I think the form of Con Callaghan and Kieran Kilkenny, they're rejuvenated now. They're fresh. They look very sharp. But I think the difference on the last night, the ball going into our forwards, we forced it. It was if we have a new tactic now, get the ball in first time, just let it rip in, and not looking at what's on inside. A man being double marked and triple marked, and we're kicking the ball up in the air. Dublin looked the opposite. They had the avenue through the centre. They gave quality ball in. And the Dubs knew they had the beating of their men, because when they got 1-1, they took them on.
Does that go back, lads, to the Mayo discussion that we had the last night, where we said there was a link missing? We were able to bring the ball so far, but we weren't able to get the ball in. The last night, it seemed to be the only option in town. It was just pop the ball in, and David almost grabbed the first one. He didn't, and it kind of went away from us even after that, and a lot of 4 shots. It's quite kind of, I suppose, caveman-like in the sense that was the tactic we used against Dublin to deliver high balls in.
And I think you're right, and I think a lot of teams are copying onto it. There's people out there, the man in the street will tell you, if David Clifford is held or Shawnee Shea, where are we going to get the scores? Well, if you're the opposition manager, like they forfeited much in the last night to do a man-marking job on David. He was pulling and dragging, he was in his face. That's what a good defender will do. But that's what David Clifford is going to get. So if that's happening inside, you need quality ball going in, diagonal ball, to give your forward the advantage. Not up in the air where there's 2 men to break the ball away from him. And they had men back to sweep up, because Murchan was committing himself, and Theo Clancy and Sean McMahon and Johnny Small were picking up the breaks.
Liam, at half time, it doesn't look well. It's 2-11 to 8 points. What's Jack O'Connor going to say to players at half time? You're going in, you're 9 points down. You probably played for the first 7 or 8 minutes. It was level up till then. I suppose the penalty was a deciding enough factor. Right decision, probably. It could have been a free. It came out to be a penalty. What's the manager saying at half time?
You'd be scratching your head, John, at times. Like, usually in situations like that, the players know themselves that this is not working. There's probably a lot of voices in a dressing room like that, but the manager probably only comes in and hits 1 or 2 points.
What do you reckon the theme of the discussion, even with the players, is? What's the topic? What are they saying? Are they talking about not marking up? Are they talking about getting the ball in quicker? Are they having a go at their midfielders for not winning the ball? Are they having a go at Shane Ryan for not delivering the ball?
I'd say there'd be a bit of everything. There would be a bit of everything. Basically, what was happening was, if I was Jason Foley, I'd be asking, why am my half-backs not tracking the likes of Kieran Kilkenny?
Why am I being left one-on-one?
Why am I being left one-on-one? Where's my help? Where's my midfielders? If you're not working outside in the midfield, you should be sitting back in front of me. Things like that. Like, if I was David Clifford, I'd be saying, why are you kicking the ball into me? There's 3 fellas marking me, and I've no forward with me.
And yet at half-time, only 1 sub.
Yeah, that's all, yeah. And the other question is, if there was 3 fellas and David Clifford, where are the other 2 forwards?
Yeah, I think that's the big thing that we have to look at. Dublin kicked 3-18, and Dublin looked like a team. I think Conor Callaghan kicked 8 points against Roscommon the week before. They seem to be going for the juggler the whole time.
It's all Joe Bradley's fault.
Yeah, they seem to
be. 2 weeks ago, Joe Bradley questioned how good he was at all. I mean, he literally said.
And if you look back last year, he was a big addition to him last year. The year we beat 2022, he was thrown at us today from a couple of fellas. He was missing for the semi-final and stuff like that. He is a good player. No doubt about that. But they're utilising him. You know, there was a couple of times they kicked in 1 or 2 high balls into him as well. But the difference was there was 1 or 2 Dublin fellas underneath him at all times.
There was 3 forwards
underneath him at all times.
Under the ball. John Kennedy, damaging defeats. Every team loses. You know, some teams have awful days out, and it's a blip and the whole lot. Is this a damaging defeat?
I think there's the mental thing for later on, Donal. You know, next weekend we have Tyrone, a different game again, another tough encounter. But I think that it's later on in the year when we'll meet Dublin again. This thing will come back. You know, the guys we were marking last Sunday, we'll be marking them again. There's a doubt in your mind. You know, maybe people have said today, did Kerry have a hard week training or whatever? That's out. That's gone now. It's the defeat in Croke Park, and you know, Desi Farrell. It appears that this was a game. You could see the determination on the team, on himself. It was they never let up. When Kerry brought it to 3 points, like Liam said, they kicked on again, and like, you know, there's guys. He's building up a panel at the moment, because you look at it: Cluxton, Fitzsimons, McCaffrey, Mannion, Costello. They're all names that will come.
Any other county team,
they'll come back into the frame. Can you imagine Paul Mannion coming into that attack? I mean, it's fearsome at the moment.
He needed.
Is he needed? Well,
is he needed if you're scoring 380s?
Can we let him at home?
You know, he's another class footballer. But like, it's the appetite they showed, and going back to the young fellas again. You know, Theo Clancy, he didn't put a foot wrong.
Very impressive. Yeah.
He and Murphy in the wing. That Cuffig Burn in the middle of the field, like Latif when he came on.
Did a great 40 minutes actually in the middle of the field too. Right, okay, so God almighty, it's fair we were broadcasting for a Dublin crowd. After the break, we'll go through the comments, and we have an awful lot of comments, and we will tear through them, lads. I won't lie, they're not great, okay? Some are worse than others, and some are even worse than them. But we will go through them. And if you have a comment out there, give us your view, of course, 083 300 3300. Keep it as short as you can, because poor Ivan is writing down that at the moment. He can't keep up at all. And Ivan, of course, is only back from Liverpool, of course. Commiseration is there too, Liam. Another loss at the weekend.
Bait by a bunch of babies.
A bunch of babies, huh? They were high in Calpol, I heard. We'll take a quick break. Okay, you're welcome back to Terrace Talk. Donal Barry here with you at 8 o'clock this evening. Okay, lads, roll up the sleeves. Here we go. The comments from the listeners. And when I say we have loads of comments, listeners, I have to say, listen, thanks very much. I mean, we literally have about 150 of them, and we probably will have another 150 shortly as Ivan drops them onto this. So we will get through as many as we can. We're not going to call them all out, so if you don't hear it, well, don't be disappointed. It's just literally, we'd be here till 12 o'clock tonight. There'd be no talks us or nothing. Anyway, afternoon, lads. Oppositions have figured us out by putting a man directly on Tig or engaging the sweeper. It pulls us wide, and as a result opens the play. This needs addressing pre-championship. The two things that are alarming: Saturday was more or less 12 of our championship 15. Secondly, we didn't have a plan B, either on the field or on the sideline, to counteract this. Players of this level should be capable of reading the play and adjusting accordingly. Or has this freedom been eradicated? John Kennedy, is this the players on the field, or is this the plan at the sideline? Wow.
Well, I suppose, look, the first thing, the Tig Marley issue, I mentioned it a while ago. It's a huge
point.
It's a very good point, and it has been a problem when our centre back is being pulled out. Your full back line is exposed.
But is it not like, I mean, when Tig Morley became the sweeper, it was the new show in town. I mean, it's kind of an old new show now, and other managers will have to develop a way of figuring it out.
The year we won the All-Ireland when Tig Morley was the sweeper, and it worked well for us. It was David Moore that sat in that pocket.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
He sat in the pocket. The other defenders are being engaged with their own men, but it was our midfielder, David, who sat in that pocket to allow...
Big defensive unit
exactly.
of a player.
And we don't seem to have that at the moment, sitting there.
No. Yep. And like, we have enough experience out there to cover off Liam, in fairness now. And the other side is, when things go wrong on a night, like the first half the last night, we were caught all over the field. You could say that no Kerry player played his potential, and Dublin were on fire. Very difficult to do anything when things are going badly. If you had 1 or 2 or 3 players, well, you could do something. But like you mentioned a while ago, Donal, 1 so at half time, you could take off the 15.
You could have,
in fairness,
yeah.
Because there were so many, we were in trouble in so many areas. To be fair to the management, you know, whoever was going to be pulled was no one would argue, because we were second best for that 35 minutes.
Nearly everything. Hi Donal, I'll tell you what went wrong. The Dubs were just too good for you. Up the Dubs, fair play. We'll give you that one for free. Hi lads, with Kerry not attacking the Dublin kick-out and our players not able to defend, we'll be lucky to get the Croker later in the year. Dan and Rathmore writing us off already. We'll probably get the Crokers at some stage, but have we slipped out of our own kind of power rankings in our head? I mean, remember last week we were talking about winning in All Ireland, and we were thinking, we were saying we were one of the top 2 teams, one of the top 3 teams. Liam Brosnan, where would we be this week maybe?
Well, based
on that result,
I do think that it is a bit worrying, to watch how the Dublin dismantled us the weekend and dismantled us easily. I know fellas mightn't have been playing up the form and stuff like that, but it gives a bit of fodder for every other team that we're going to come up against. That we are beatable, and there is a common thing out there at the moment that if you mark Paddy and you hold David to 5 or 6 points, that Kerry will struggle, and these games will just add more fuel to that, because that's what Dublin did the weekend. They held Paddy. We struggled inside with getting decent ball into David. And when you look at the likes of Armagh the weekend and the likes of Donegal, who are probably going to come out this year, and I don't think they're going to be All Ireland contenders or winners, but I do think they will upset 1 or 2 teams, alright. Now you have Derry who are going well up these kind of teams.
Donegal dressing room now for the rest of the year.
So I don't think I'd buy words up in the Donegal dressing room won't make a difference. But I just think that I would be a small bit worried with what I saw the weekend, because there is little holes there and breaches and stuff like that, and problems that we have, and we're not a million miles away from championship.
And Liam, Tyrone showed against Mayo, they dismantled them really, didn't they?
Yeah.
And McCurry coming back, Canavan flying, Peter Hart, the 2 midfielders, Kilpatrick and Brian Kennedy, they're going to be a real tough nut again. There's 5 or 6 teams there, and at the moment, we'd find it difficult to beat those.
And in
John Kenny, don't be depressing us anymore.
And in 22, we had a defensive structure. No. We have no structure. At the moment, even looking at the games we won in Cavan and stuff, it's all 1-on-1 stuff, and you're not going to win in All Ireland going out with Dublin.
Would you be hoping that we're hiding something?
You'll be hoping.
Would you be hoping
that's what's
that
in the
we
back
have
of all our
something
heads
hidden for the championship?
But honest, Donal, I'll be honest with you, I don't see what we have to hide, being honest. And that's not being critical.
A new structure, a new defensive plan,
you look at our bench the
players
last day.
Are there,
you look at our bench the last day. Our 15, fair enough, but look at the bench. Have we some impact off the bench? You compare that to the Dublin. Brian Howe coming on.
You mentioned there,
the lads want to come in there. It's worrying that we haven't got the guys coming in that Jack would, and to be fair to Jack and the management, they have brought new fellas in. They did it last year. Unfortunately, as yet, they're not up to the mark to make that impact.
Okay, hi Donal. Dublin were great to watch. They wanted to track back. They tackled. They got forward to support. I thought Kerry dropped off too deep on Saturday night, and our lads seemed a yard or 2 off their man all the time. Kerry have 3 scoring threats: David Clifford, Shawnee Shea, Paddy Clifford. The rest of them were Dublin, and Dublin were all about them. And that's from PJ. I suppose PJ may be questioning, we were a yard off the pace, we weren't on top of our game. You remember the time when we beat them in Croke Park, and we kind of choke tackled them in a sense, and we swarmed them and we gathered around them. There was no instance of that last night, Liam. No,
nothing like that. The only bit of, I suppose, glimmer of hope that we're looking at is that the Mayo this time last year it was Mayo who gave us a bit of a trouncing above, and we still went on. But looking down the road, Dublin are going to be the team. I always said that if you're going to win the All Ireland, you're going to have to beat Dublin. And they proved it again the weekend, and it's just frightening with the players that they have, and it was just frightening to see the likes of Kilkenny and Burglar and even Paddy Small, the way they were brushing off the tackles of our defence and running through us. That's a worrying factor. That's something that you'll be wondering how you can.
And I suppose Liam, as Kerry men, they play the game like we'd like it to be played.
3-18.
To be fair now, we're talking about attacking. Regardless who wins or loses, that's what you want to see. Fellas taking on 1-on-1 and going for it. Now, one thing I suppose is just David Clifford. The time he beat his man and went in and kicked it into the side netting. Near the end, he went through and he kicked it over the bar when the goal chance was on. Had they gone in, Shawnee was off with a couple of frees, but I think that was only papering over the cracks.
Yeah.
We were second best, and that's worrying.
Lads, will you calm down? Don't panic. It's only February. Fair play to you. Thank you, listener. We needed that one. Kerry tactics were all wrong. We stood off in defence. Kickouts were a disaster. Dublin got their kickouts spot on, and it's nearly become a psychological issue now for Kerry that we cannot beat the Dubs in Croke Park. There is too much pressure on the Cliffords to have that massive game all the time, and it showed again the last night that they are now becoming too easy to read, particularly from a Dublin aspect. Have the Dublin players the engine sign on the Cliffords and the Kerry team at this moment, maybe?
The last 2 times we played them, you'd say yeah. You know, they probably have. On the kickouts, on the Dublin kickouts there, your listeners, yeah. But I don't think we will actually mark the kickouts like we did, because it was we were marking man to man, and what was happening is Dublin were coming into the middle, and I think we'll come championship we'll have more of a zone.
Do we not have enough players on the field in that starting 6 or 7 to comfortably show or comfortably win 50-50 kickouts?
Yeah, or even 50-40 balls at the moment, yeah, because at the weekend that's the way it was. You know, so it was, yeah. You would be wondering, you would be running and splitting the kickouts, but I can see us and doing the kick-out strategy that we had Saturday night when it comes to championship anyway.
We didn't win one challenge the last night. Not one player put a fair belt on a dub. Well, there was a few belts put on Dubs. They might have been on the fair side, but yeah, I get where that is coming from. Take it as a lesson learned, boys. Go back and watch it and see where they can improve on. I presume that's what Jack is busy at the moment. Donal, the Kerry shooting was unaccustomedly poor. Really big word, unaccustomedly poor. Shooting was poor. David Clifford was having to do it all himself. Maybe he has to trust more of his players. Is there a question there?
Yeah. Could be
a point when you see that one there. Next time, men against boys, lads. Simple as that. What a hammering. What happened? We will rise again. Fair play to you. I wouldn't be too worried. It's only February. Kerry will be back in the mix when it comes All Ireland time. Donal, what are you talking about? We were lucky the defeat wasn't bigger. All teams know what Kerry bring now, and all teams will be able to exploit us. Is there a danger, Liam, that this game will give a blueprint to other teams who mightn't be as good as Dublin at exploiting us, but certainly will have a way of opening us up a bit more?
We said it there a couple of minutes ago, definitely, because it'll give fodder to other teams, you know. And it's not a big secret that we are over reliant on David Clifford and Paddy and Shawnee Shea, you know. So, but like, we're getting back to the Joe O'Connor point there in the middle of the field. You know, at half time, surely someone said to Joe, there's no one marking you, go forward.
Yep.
No, we could see it from up high that they weren't really interested in marking Joe when Kerry had the ball. They were sitting back, and Joe kind of got inspirational, and he kind of went forward twice and he kicked 1-1. We need little things like that from other players to take the pressure off the David Cliffords and the Shawnee Sheas and Paddy and these guys, because if you run into place, you are going to get space because there's so much eyes and heat on the 3 boys. But we need to be doing it more often.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, ahead of that game, there was a minute's silence for Tom the Smith O'Sullivan from St. Michael's Filemore, of course. A man who never won an All-Ireland, to be fair to him, at Croke Park, never representing Kerry either, I presume. But a man who kind of meant so much to his club and his community. And, of course, on Saturday, there was nearly over 200 former players and current players, of course, lined out for a guard of honour for Tom in I suppose the hometown of Carstoween, even though Strand's End men on the way into it, and of course his son Ian, a former Kerry minor, and his daughter Eve as well, talented footballer with Southern Gales. I remembered him this evening, and strange enough, not that we meant to link this, but his nephews, of course, are the O'Connors from Glenbeggan and Carron. They were over in New York, and they're back, Kenneth and Adrian, and they really grew into big men. Is that what we're missing in Kerry at the moment? A traditional old-fashioned midfielder that is 6'4", 6'5", Anthony Tohill-esque. You mentioned David Moore, possibly the last of our big midfielders for a while, or is that becoming a hard spot to fill for the 2 lads that are there, and maybe Jack Barry beforehand, because what we demand and what we expect from that position is so out of what can be delivered in the modern game?
It is, yeah, definitely. If we could get a piece of the likes of Brian Fenton and these fellas. No, and not every county is blessed with the likes of those players, Conor Glass, and these guys. But look, you'll be hoping over time that the likes of Joe O'Connor will get enough of experience and enough of know-how. And defeats like this, you learn, as they always say, you learn a lot more by defeats than you probably would by wins. And I think we'll learn a lot by this. And I think the likes of Diarmid and Killian Burke is a guy now who I was impressed again in the first half. He got on, he kicked his point. He was trying hard. So there's a bit of excitement you could build there around Killian as well. So yeah, it's midfield. Midfield is still a problem.
Mick from Ballybunion was on the line there with Ivan. I said they're on the phone for the last 10 minutes. I'd say together. Ivan typing mad. Nearly 70 years old, Donal, and worn out from games like this over the last dozen or so years. Teams only have to put the head down and run through us. Nothing has changed. The worst is this is nearly our full championship team. The truth is, if we had 5 or 6 players simply good enough, we'd seem to persevere with them. These are not just recent lads either. The search has to go on out there. Where are all the hard men gone? All the stoppers, they must be there. Sean Kennedy, where are all those hard North Kerry men gone?
Yeah, and it's a question that's been asked, Donal, and William must have talked about it this evening. Can you name a player or players that should be in? We can't. To be fair, I think
the boat is full with what should be in the boat.
And there's no criticism of the management saying that another should be inside.
Yes,
that's not an issue.
Whoever's not there is injured. He's injured.
Yeah, to be fair, I think
Green, these guys.
They trialled the county championship. They brought in the guys. It's not turning the switch. It takes time. But it's we certainly need, as I said previously, when you look at our bench, the inexperience that we have there is worrying later on the championship, because we will get injuries. We are going to be at the business end of the season, there's no doubt about that, but that's when your squad is tested.
Donal, kickouts need to be sped up. 50-50 balls being kicked out to midfield all night long. Half forward line in midfield were well below par on the evening, with leaving the backs wide open. Really missing the tough half forward line of, what kind of players does he mention?
Declan O'Sullivan. Paul Galvin.
Did you write this one yourself? Yeah, they're the two names that pops up. And one learning is that Sean O'Shea is probably required in the half forward line.
Yeah, you see, look, it's fine when you're playing McGrath Cup and you're getting supply in, with all due respect, but we're going up the ladder now, and can we afford to play him inside? It's the players you've mentioned were some of the best players that ever wore a Kerry jersey.
But Dublin have them at the moment.
And Dublin have them.
That type of a player, they have them at the moment.
And it must be remembered, when we did have Declan and Mr. Galvin, we lost a few others.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't get past the line. Donal, I feel sorry for the Kerry team. It was a hard game from Joan Cremens in Tralee. Fair play to Joan. Dublin were on fire because they got marked. God, when I played football, you would be in touching distance. Hi lads, better to get beat in the league and sort the kinks out. Tyrone will tell a lot. Kerry will stay up in the league. Here we go again with hiding. Do the Dubs hide? All the best, Brendan. Can I just say something there as well? And Brendan kind of tipped it there, I suppose. The next game will tell a lot. Liam, the next game now is really, really important.
It is, yeah. We've Tyrone at home now next Sunday. So, and Tyrone after a great win the weekend against Mayo. So they're going to be coming down buzzing as well. So you'll be hoping to get a bit of a response after Kerry after Saturday night. But it's look, I can't see any difference in personnel on the team really.
Can I say who we haven't spoke about at all yet? We'd normally spend about a good 5 minutes talking about this character, and we haven't mentioned him high up or low down. Who haven't we not spoke about? The poor referee. Never mentioned the referee.
Very easy game to weekend.
So let's talk about referees for a minute or two. Hi Donal, great to see 2 Kerry referees on National League duty this weekend. Brendan Griffin ref the Division 1 encounter between Roscommon and Monaghan, absolutely. And Seamus Mulville was the man in the middle for Wexford and Waterford in Division 4. Both men doing North Kerry proud, and that comes from John Paul. Let's dial it down a bit. Two guys. Seamus is ringing you now.
Give me a plug there.
Thanks, Seamus.
Don't ring till he's off here, Seamus. Brendan Griffin and Seamus Mulville. Let's get away from the kind of the drudgery at the moment.
two great referees.
Two great men at national level, reffing leagues.
But they have their reputation in Kerry. In North Kerry, and Kerry is there for everybody to see. Two very, very fit, up with the play. Use a bit of common sense, even though it's not in the rule book, we're told. But, having said that, teams that they have reffed in Kerry, County Championship, tremendous respect for them. It's great to see them. And, when you don't hear a criticism of a ref on a Monday morning, they must have done well, to be fair, and well done to them, and the best of luck, because it's great to see two North Kerry men.
And not an easy job.
Not an easy job, no.
No, and I have to say one thing about Brendan Griffin. I remember maybe 2 or 3 years ago, Brendan Griffin turned up and he reffed the community games, bronze medal game between Kilcommon and Listowel, and he reffed it as if it was the All-Ireland final. He had common sense, he had the whole lot. The game ended the draw on the night. It was a fantastic thing. But to think a guy of that stature was able to...
But these are two great GM Donal. They're involved with development squads and stuff there, and that says a lot about them. They have a fierce respect, and they're down to earth guys as well. But they're refereeing at the highest level, and fair play to them.
Absolutely, and of course Seamus, a great ladies referee as well, done many again final as well. There's loads of comments coming in, lads. Send more of them in. We'll get as many as we can. 083 300 300. But for now, we'll take a break. Right, I suppose we'll put a smile on some people's faces. To be fair, we're too depressed at the moment. Now, that defeat, everybody's running around the place saying it is the worst defeat by a Kerry team. It is the worst defeat in the league by a Kerry team. It is the worst ever defeat by a Kerry team. So we had to go off and do a bit of homework. And it does rank fairly high. It is up there, to be fair. But it's the 13th worst league defeat, which basically means there's 12 defeats that are actually a lot worse. We will relive some of them in the company of our guests. John Kennedy, let's go back to the 14th of December 1986. And we're going back to Kells, not in Carsavine or Foilmore. You were up the road in a league game. You played Meath, and Meath won by 112 to 4 points. 11 points. 1 point worse. Donal Neal from Carsavine was in goal. Pa Grady, Tom Spillane, Mick Spillane, Stephen Stack, John Higgins, Garrod Casey, Lisbol. Midfield, Dermot Hannafin and Timmy Dowd. Willie Maher, Ogie Moran, John Kennedy.
About that. He scored.
He failed to score. Michael McCullough from Spa got a point. Dermot Hannafin got a point as well. Jack O'Shea was full forward. And Ger Power got 2 points out of 4. Can you remember that? Did it leave a big...
Oh, I can't really, Donal, being honest with you.
You're going to say that anyway, aren't you?
But like these defeats, you move on. The Kerry lads, like that time as well. You have a defeat. The next one is the most important again.
The bus, you
let's get on with it.
That's a 1984 defeat. He had been the 14th of December, or 1986 actually. Things were coming to an end in 1986, weren't they?
Yeah. That was the end of the 3 in a row.
So that was a worrying enough defeat, I suppose, really. Yeah. A lot of new players in that as well. So obviously, I'd imagine Donal Neal, Garrod Casey. I suppose Timmy was on the panel for a while. Michael McCullough was coming in and coming out of it. Pat O'Grady, of course, Glencar. A lot of new players being come in. So that defeat is fairly bad. It's a 11-point defeat. Okay, we had a couple of worse than that, had we? But we got a couple of worse ones, we? Let's go to Parnell Park in 1998.
Oh, Jesus,
that was a terrible defeat.
Dublin, 18 points. These were the days when Dublin would play their league games in Parnell Park, Liam.
Full house.
Yeah, so you were deprived of that, Liam. Liam, of course, was playing. That's where we're going on this one. In goal, I find lots of things. In goal, Declan O'Keefe. Didn't affect him. He went on to win bigger and better things. Killian Burns, the Snee. Barry O'Shea, full-back. Stephen Stack, poor Stephen Stack's going to get an awful doing tonight. Sean Burke was at 5. Liam Flaherty was at 6 now, and Eamon Breen was at 7. Now, they're fairly tough characters, and to think that they were on a defeat of that magnitude. Midfield, Darragh O'Shea and William Kirby. 2 young lads at the time. All I'm doing is equating to our 2 young lads that are there at the moment. We're looking at them as they are now. Maybe we should be looking at them maybe in the future. Pallade, Donal Daly, Johnny Crowley, who got a goal. Derek Kineda, John Brennan from Desmond's. That'll make Mr. Nelligan very happy there. And Liam Brosnan got 1 point. What
was the score?
The final score was Dublin 18, Kerry 1-3. Come on, Liam, you surely must remember that night, do you? That's 1998. What about John Kennedy? 86?
I can remember it, all right, yeah.
Can you remember it?
I can remember it, yeah.
What do you remember about it?
Basically, it was a full house. Look, we were the All-Ireland champions coming to town. We have to win the All-Ireland in 97. So a lot of these guys, I suppose the celebrations were still kind of going strong in Kerry for a lot of that league.
Yeah.
No, so it really didn't get going until...
Yeah, it was Kerry's 5th worst defeat ever.
Yeah.
5th. You're okay, John. You're down around 9th.
Like you went through the team there. Like there's serious names in that
serious
team.
Names, yeah.
But that Dublin team had serious names as well. You don't have the Dublin team there now.
No, sure. Jeez, that'd be an awful job to do that. Come here. Let's go for the 3rd highest defeat ever. It happened in Croke Park. It happened in the league. It happened in 1991. And it was a fair dusting, 3-11 to 7 points in favour of Dublin. We'll have a look at the team, will we? It'll be very interesting when you meet some of your friends here. Peter O'Leary was in goal. Connie Murphy, Dr. Crokes. Ambrose O'Donovan at full-back.
Ambrose, yeah. That's one now we'll have for him.
That's one you'll have from the next night. Kieran Culhane, Ballylongford. Robbie Dwyer, of course, Waterville. Sean Burke. Stephen Stack again. God... He's not good. He'll come after me tonight.
Third one.
Yeah, don't be countering him. Noel O'Mahony and Tim Dinheo, of course, in Waterville. Jack O'Shea was in it again, actually. Eamon Breen was playing centre forward. Maurice Fitzgerald was on that team. That's fair going to think where we're going. Sean McKelly, of course, out the road. Aidan Knocknagoshel. David Farrell on the Skull, and another corner forward from Curra.
I didn't hear.
Poor Pat was there as well, and Pat Slattery and Anthony Gleeson were the subs. I suppose the point that I'm trying to make in kind of a fun gesture, I suppose maybe to lighten it, is that this has happened before.
And it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And it has happened to huge players with huge names.
Ivan's running out of paper.
Well, Ivan, will you stop? We better fly through a few more. Congrats to both Brendan and Seamus on refereeing their Allianz League games this weekend from all the North Kerry board. Fair play. Donal, will you wish the very best of luck to the athletes going to Cork tomorrow for the Munster Schools Cross Country, amongst others? There are 4 minor girls flying the flag for the very first time for the Kingdom. There are 2 girls from Killorglin, 1 from Tralee and 1 from Pobbleskull in Verskeena down there in Kilmare, and we're very proud of them all. Yeah, absolutely fantastic, and the very best of luck to you. Evening, fair and constructive analysis, lads. Tough evening in headquarters. To focus the minds when we are out on the GA pitches of Portugal in a few weeks. Yeah, absolutely. Good point. We're going to Portugal with a defeat in our back pocket. I presume there'll be some frank talking.
Oh, they will, yeah. And it'll be whatever bit of a week that they'll have together, between the bonding and the training and the tactics, because it looked like the weekend, and a lot of people have said it, that we didn't have any tactics. It was like that the management just said, just go out and play. And I think the Portugal trip and the training from here on we'll have structures which we need. We need a defensive structure. We need to be able to transition the ball out of defence a lot quicker, up into a forward line, not up into a forward, up into a forward line where with David, with other fellas around him. And I think if we can get that right, we won't be too far away.
Mm-hmm. A few calls from the referee cost us dearly. Penalty decision and a foul, one of our players going through on goal, haul down around the neck and no free. Dubs go down to the other end and get a goal, 4-point swing right there, and add in the dubious penalty. Don't say no more. We say we'd be nice to referees. Hi Donal, I particularly love this one. I'm a lady in my late 60s and I could do a better job than the management. Why are we pushing our forwards into the corners, leaving centre field totally open? No support play, no players running at the opposition, and we're not learning. A loyal Kerry supporter losing hope somewhat. Well, I suppose all the good loyal Kerry supporters never lose hope. That's what we would be hoping for. Lads, get a grip. Joe O'Connor playing his 2nd full game in nearly 2 years. Very fair point. Why was Paul Murphy left out, and why was that young lad from Nagale, who was Damien Burke caller, thrown in? And it was a very big night for him and his family as well.
Yeah.
And a night that he'll always remember as well. Why was he thrown to the lines then? After they beat us last July, we should have been out to get him on Saturday night, but we had no will to win anymore, no hunger, no urgency and no fire. And then we have another Peter from Kilmare looking to know where Donal Down has gone. Where is he? No talk about Conlane. I don't think he's Conlane, but anyway, the referee, the 3rd goal was a result of the ref not giving a free to Kerry in the second half. It was a disgrace. I'm aware Kerry were not at the races, but that free would have brought us within 2 points of Dublin. With all the talk what if and what this and what that. Does that kind of mask the real problem, John, doesn't it? I mean, the real problem, we were outplayed for all of that game, bar maybe the first 10 minutes and probably a good 15 minutes in between where, as Liam said, they whizzed down. The one thing that worried me about Kerry and Dublin was that when the third quarter blitz was over, Dublin kind of rolled up the sleeves and outscored us 1-4 to a point at their ease again.
They did. That's the thing, and we mentioned that earlier on. You know, when they brought us to 3 points, or we brought them to 3 points, and they kicked on again. I think their bench, as I said previously, they made an impact. Brian Howard, you know, made a big impact. Latif coming in did well also. But look, it's you can look on your listeners there, rightly so. Maybe a few decisions that didn't go our way, but I think it's only masking the problem. You know, we were well beaten on the night, and I'd say the management and the players will know that. And you know, it's back to the drawing board, and it's improved to get to that level. You know, it's a big game next Sunday against Tyrone, and you know, if we beat Tyrone next Sunday, the Dublin game will be forgotten about. Yeah. That's the league, and you know, it's so competitive that if you win the rest of the games, you could still be in a final. That's the thing about it.
Ger from Meath was on. Thanks, Ger, for getting in contact. Hi lads, I was at the game on Saturday evening. Kerry looked stuck to the ground away off the pace. Maybe a lot of heavy training done. We were certainly lost for pace, weren't we? We were a gear behind. Hi lads, the half-back line needs to push up more to support the attacking play. I think we should play an extra halfback and keep 2 scoring forwards high up the pitch, David and another. I wouldn't be too worried. It'd be interesting to watch what Derry and Dublin do next weekend. That all of a sudden has a smell of an All-Ireland final about, doesn't it?
It does. It'll be interesting what kind of, and it's up in Derry, isn't it? I think it's Dublin are away, so it'll make it more interesting. But yeah, you would wonder. No, I just.
Who would you like to win?
Dublin seemed to me that they wanted to lay down a marker with Kerry. I don't think they were bothered with everybody else through the league. I think they were laying down a marker with us the weekend. Yeah. Whereas you could see Derry winning the game the weekend. But
well, both teams this time last year came from Division 2. Yeah. They had that big battle above in. I'm nearly sure it was above in.
I thought it was Derry
last time as well. Yeah. Maybe they're going again. Yeah. Who do you want to win? Come on.
I'd like to see Derry win it.
Mickey Hart.
Just to keep them going.
Or a Mickey Hart fan, really, aren't you?
No, just to keep them happy, you know, and hopefully bust their bubble.
John Kennedy, Dublin will want to keep it going. They'll want to win that game.
They will, yeah. They want to win, but I think I'd agree with Liam. I think Derry will win that, being honest with you. It's different. When you take, if tis in a Derry venue, it's a different situation. Dublin and Croke Park, you know.
They're a different animal.
At this time of the year. The space and the wide open space that are there.
16,
the hill, all that, you know, it's difficult, and you have to be ready. You have to be up to match pace for Dublin and Croke Park.
Yeah, a caller listening to find out what was the worst ever league defeat, and we have that there as well. 1958 was the league. We lost to Kildare on a whopping 3-10 to 1 goal. I don't have time to go through the whole team, but suffice to say, or we'll go through the whole team. Nicholas Huzzy from Stacks was in goal. Jerome O'Shea, of course, was Carcevid. Ned Roach was Knocknagoshel. Team Tiger Lions. Mick O'Dwyer was on the team. Tom Moriarty, Mahal Kearns from O'Rahilly's. Mick O'Connell was midfield. Dinny O'Shea, Rahilly's. Paddy Sheehy was on the team. John Dowling was on the team. Tiggy Lyon was on the team. Johnny Culty was on the team. Mick Murphy from Rahilly's was on the team. And Dan McAuliffe was on the team. And to think that was the worst defeat ever in the league.
It kind of just shows you when things go against you, no matter who you are, it's very hard. And I think, look, the 3 goals as well were massive, you know, and they seem to come at vital times as well, just to keep pushing them on. And it just shows that there's a lot of good footballers that have been beaten by high scores.
Well beaten. Absolutely out the side. So I suppose that's the one thing we'll take on it. It's not really life and death, I suppose. Kerry will have to pull up the socks. I'm nearly sure the players themselves will know. And it's hard for the players as well, because I mean, they've got families. They had families in the stand the last day listening to people hurling abuse down on top of them and all over the place. They certainly didn't go up to get beaten by a somewhat cricket score against a very good Dublin side. They will channel that. They will improve on that. Obviously for the management as well. I mean, they're working hard night and day as well. People might have their differing views about who should be on and the tactics we are, but I mean, you can never doubt the work or the sincerity of the work that goes into it. And for all the players out there, that big defeat. Look, I mean, to be very fair, you know, I can't say well done or big well done, but I mean, you have to remind yourself of the effort for them to get there. I mean, nobody went out the last night to lose, and one of the callers there said, listen, Joe O'Connor, his second game. Things like that matter, John Kennedy, you know, when you put it back into context, and that's what we'll do. Lads, thanks very much. We'll have you on next week. Hopefully we'll bring a bit more smiling next week. I have no more things to throw at Liam Brosnan now. You can answer the phone there now in 10 seconds, Liam.
The way the phone calls are coming in, I'm not answering them tonight.
Good stuff. Listen, guys, thanks very much. Up after a break, we will talk about hurling. That after the news.